All right. So today we have Miss Kathy Specht. She is an individual career development consultant. She also wears many hats in many different areas. So she'll be able to speak to us from a variety of experiences. So Kathy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and when you graduated from Specht?
Sure. I'll give you a little bit of my career path story. I'm a Shikellamy graduate, 1973, and I attended Priestley Elementary School because I know some of your students attended there, and then the Shikellamy Middle School and High School, which was in Northumberland and Sunbury then. And so I was a first generation college student. My parents had not gone to college, but I was in a generation when it was possible that we were thinking, a 4-year degree was a really good thing, for someone to pursue. So my first place was Juniata College. I found that I was actually in a 4-H club, and we had done a state convention there. And I liked that it was a small university with a lot of personal sort of touch. And so I ended up at Juniata, which is about 100 miles from Northumberland. It was a very positive experience. I went there undeclared, not knowing exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I liked history and political science and that kind of thing. And so after taking 2 or 3 years of classes, I found myself working with a 4-H group there actually, and working with children, and thought, maybe the teaching certificate was the right way to go. So I did that, and my first teaching job and was at Milton High School. I taught social studies for 4 years, and then moved around a little bit for personal reasons. I lived in New York State. I also finished a degree at Bucknell, and that's where I obtained my school counseling certificate. So I had been in the school counseling field since 1984, and actually worked in several different settings, and then eventually returned to Milton as an elementary counselor and then a middle school counselor, and ended my K through 12 career as a middle school counselor. Then for the past 6 years, I was on faculty at Bloomsburg University training school counseling interns. And I wrapped that up in May this year, and I'm doing the independent work now, doing some consulting with school districts throughout the state as an independent career development counselor, and providing feedback for their K through 12 guidance plan. So that's a little bit about my career path.
I love that you said when you went to college, you were undecided, because we are trying to expose our students to all different types of careers, but I still think they need to know it's okay not to know exactly what you want to do, and that your path will come to you at some point in time. So
I think that's a good point to make, because I think so many people make so many career changes in the generation of students that are now graduating and moving into post-secondary. And there's just so many different options. And I think career technical options had been underutilized for many years. And now combining those with some type of associate degree or 40-year degree is a really positive career path for many of the students that I worked with in Milton, and also in my school counseling program at Bloomsburg. What was really interesting about the school counseling program was that so many of the students that were in the school counseling program really didn't know what they wanted to do when they had even graduated from college. And that's how they ended up in a master's program, and knew that they liked helping, knew that they liked the helping professions. And so school counseling was a really good option.
okay. What do you think, what would be the incentive for a middle school student to pursue a degree in education or counseling or even consulting?
Well, the first thing is like, do you like working with people? I think that middle school students are very familiar now, because of some of the things that you're doing with them as school counselors, with the Holland Code. And you have to take, you have to take some inventories and find out like where do your interests lie? Where are your skills? And, with the Holland Code, I would have come out like even back in middle school when I was 12 or 13 as liking to interact with adults, liking to interact with my peers. And that kind of has followed me the rest of my life. So I think like some of the inventories that you're doing and some of the things that you're exposing students to help them to learn more about themselves. And then I think what's a really cool thing now is just like that students, I think, are so much more engaged in finding out about all different types of career opportunities. I know I participated in your in-person career fair the last 2 or 3 years, and the students had a lot of questions and they were very engaged and they were very interested. And, that's my advice to a middle school student. Just learn as much as you can and find out what you like to do. What is rewarding for you? What is something you could, go to work every day and not feel like it's just a job. I tell people that all the time, my career in education, like I have no regrets. Every day I went to work, I was always enthusiastic about working with students, working with the teachers. That was what was really nice about the school counseling career. I had a lot of contact with adults, parents, principals, teachers, and then the students, and just helping everybody with any difficulty that they faced. So if you like that kind of challenge, like the school counseling career is really a good one for you.
You kind of jumped into this, but I'm just going to say again, is there anything that you wish someone would have said to you about choosing a career when you were in middle school? And would you say that to our students?
Well, the thing that I found in middle school was that I really liked history. I think I had some really good teachers that just opened my eyes to like how, history was like, reading a book and, just feeling like you were part of an era maybe that was 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago. So I think in middle school, my advice to students is to just really get into your content and your subjects and find the area that makes you feel like the most eager to learn, because lifelong learning is just like a really, good concept, good skill set to have. And so as a middle school student, like stay tuned into school. Find out the things that get you really excited, because by the time you get to high school, you're going to have many, many more choices about what you take and where you go. And like, can you take college classes, or can you go do an internship somewhere? Or can you go to the Career Technical Center and learn a skill? And that's the part that I would say in middle school, like that's what's really cool about that age group, because you're right at the threshold of having all those opportunities. And from being a middle school counselor for about 5 years, I saw that many students in middle school didn't realize what an opportunity time it was for them. They were like so wrapped up in other situations and peer situations and things that kind of took their attention away from that focus. So I think that's something that's really good that's going in schools right now, that students are like led back to that all the time, even when they are facing extreme challenges or difficulties with their peers or at home.
So, can you share something about yourself, like something that is one of your favorites, like for example, a favorite food or an activity or something that you liked about your job, or maybe a memory that you had from Shikellamy when you were a student here?
Well, I would just say to reach out. Like, I, ended up like talking to a number of people that weren't necessarily in my school environment before deciding to go to Juniata. My parents were in business, and my dad had professional friends that were doctors and lawyers, and even though he had never gone to college, he actually hadn't graduated from high school. He was a World War II vet. And so the big thing, I think, like something personal for me, was that one thing I really learned at a young age was like how to connect with people. And that's made a difference through my entire career. Like I have not had like a traditional career in that I did the same thing for a lot of years and then retired to just pursue travel and hobbies. I've had like, I've worked at a daycare center. I've been the youth director of a YMCA. I've done a lot of different things. And I think the reason I was able to do so many different things and like everything I did, even though I spent a lot of years in education, was because I wasn't afraid to ask questions. I wasn't afraid to meet new people. I was always kind of trying to find out something that I didn't know about in terms of my career. And that's how I got to Juniata. My mom actually had a friend who was a Muncie school district school counselor, and a mutual friend. And she took me, I'd never met this woman, and she took me to Muncie, and I sat there and talked to her, and she kind of like took a map out old fashioned school counselor way and drew 100-mile radius around the map, and talked to me about 10 different colleges. And honestly, I'd never, it just, a lot of them, like one of them was Albright, and I'd never heard of Albright College before. So just reaching out, I definitely had people at Shikellamy that, helped me get what I needed to get in order to go to college, but not to go to not be afraid to go out of that circle and get some, like when you're in high school, these middle school students should be thinking about that. Like when you're in high school, get some work experiences, do something. There's a lot of flexibility now in high school scheduling and allow you to do a lot of different things. And again, because I did work for career technical education, I just feel it's really important to find out what's at your career technical center, which is, Sun Tech for our Shikellamy students.
All right, so the last thing we want to ask you is, here at Shikellamy at the middle school, our motto is to be brave. And brave stands for bold, resilient, active, valiant, and enthusiastic. So if you had to pick one of those and have the middle school students give your perspective on one of those, which one would you choose?
Oh, well, that's easy. I would choose resilient, because I think, like, from my experience as a school counselor and the other things I've done, like, everybody has bumps in the road. And resiliency is that ability to bounce back when things don't go your way. And, there's even now during the pandemic, it's just been a lot of plans have been changed. There's been a lot of disappointments. There's been hardships for families. And so resiliency is probably one of the most important characteristics to develop as you're maturing. And so I just think of all the students that I worked with in my school counseling career, and they had very challenging, difficult situations many times. There had been a death in the family. They had lost a parent. They had lost a sibling. Their house burnt down. Just all kinds of things. And you've seen it all as school counselors. And the ability to bounce back, that's what resiliency is. I think a lot of kids don't even know what the word means. But the ability to bounce back, to find coping skills, to find a support system, I think just is probably the most incredible thing you can do for yourself. And also to expand your support system, like realize that, you can go beyond your nuclear family, which is like your parents and your siblings, in order to get support. Like in my lifetime, I have had a lot of support from a lot of different people. I was an only child. So when my parents became very unwell, I really depended mostly on friends for support that had no family connection with me at all. And that got me through some very rough times as, an older adult when you're dealing with aging parents. So that's my big one, resiliency. It's like find ways that you can cope and feel better when things don't go the way you planned or there's a huge disappointment. I think life is kind of full of that, and we have to learn how to deal with it and, come out with something positive and a learning experience from a rough situation.
Thank you so much.
That was well said.
Yeah, that was really great advice for young people for when they're moving forward. And I also would like to say thank you for always supporting our career fair, because every time we've asked you to come in, you come in. And now we're trying to be a little resilient here with the different restrictions we have going on. And we ask you to video, and you've always been, very helpful. So thank you.
Well, and I'm happy to do it. And I'm looking forward to like an in-person, maybe next year career fair again, because it really is fun connecting with the students, taking their questions and, just having that personal interaction. So I commend all you through working through this. I think it's been difficult for everybody. But I think we're all going to come out with some very positive like skills through having to change a lot of the way that we did things.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yep. Have a nice day.
You
Enjoy
too.
the career fair, kids.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yep.